Hello, everyone. I'm Jesse Harper, and joining me this week is a local of mine, Paul. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Paul Gibby. I'm a local in the New England area. Been playing Flesh and Blood since around Uprising was when I started coming over from Magic.
Most people will probably know your online username
Yeah,
as Aegisworn.
yeah. So
So, do you want to tell us a little bit how you got into coding for Talishar? Because I think that's primarily where
yeah,
people know you.
it's definitely where I'm spent a lot of my online time in the game, and really it was just around Rosetta. I saw Oscilio, and I really, really wanted to play that hero, and he wasn't initially available immediately. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. So I taught myself PHP and started coding on the Talishar backend. Just over time, I found that I just really enjoy coding the backend of Talishar, so I just kept doing it. I got pretty good at it, and
Okay.
I optimized a lot of the processes to just make coding it easier and faster. Ultimately, taught myself a lot of the rules, so I'm like the main rules guy on Talishar, and I try to make sure it's as rules accurate as possible, so that when people think that Talishar is a judge, it will actually give them the correct rulings.
Yeah, there is that famous saying that Talishar is not
Yeah,
a judge.
yeah.
But speaking of judges, you recently acquired your L2, correct?
I did, yes.
So, what was that process like?
So the judge process is pretty simple for the first two levels. For level 1 and 0, you really just take a test. It's recommended to get some experience, but it's mostly just take a test, you get certified. For level 2, you're still taking a test, but then you also have to work a certain number of events. They did recently make it easier, so you don't need to spend quite as long as a level 1 before you can get to level 2. Then the requirement that most people find trickiest is that you need to work an event with an existing level 2 as a mentor. And so in New England, we did not have any L2s until fairly recently when Quinn got his. So big shout out to Quinn for helping seed the level 2 judge program in New England.
You're an L2 now, and forgive me, I can't remember his name.
UJ. I don't think he's gotten it yet, but he should be. It should be soon.
So that would be a minimum of 3 L2s in the area, which would be a really nice bump for the judge staff here.
Yes.
More big events, more things to run. You mentioned Oscilio earlier, but if memory serves,
Yeah.
didn't you learn the game playing Dory for a bit into Kano?
My my very first game was Dorian to
Okay.
Phi, and my second game was Dorian to Kano. And Kano exploded me, and I was like, I want that.
Yeah, because you're mainly known around here for doing all sorts of wizard shenanigans. Oscilio, Kano,
Yeah.
Stormstriders, plus.
Yeah. So the first deck I picked up, like for real, like a deck I owned, was actually Dromai,
Okay.
because people said that Wizard was complicated, so I shouldn't pick it up as my
So
first
you
deck.
picked Drobai.
So yes, I picked Dromai. I always want to play the hard decks, but I did enjoy Dromai. She was fun, and I would play her periodically if I felt Wizard was bad in the meta. But after her, I picked up Icelander, and that was really when I fell in love with the game. So she was my first like real hero that I was taking to. I took her to my first Battle Hardened. I went to a couple PQs with her and did very well. And that was when it was really Icelander that made me realize this is the game for me.
Pretty different playstyle from Icelander to Oscilio. Yes, they're both wizards, but one's a lot more disruptive, one's a lot more value oriented. We saw that kind of Bulllander Icelander style come out from Michael Hamilton at Worlds and then kind of maintain that identity going through all the way up until she LL'd. What initially drove you to kind of switch to a more like aggro combo style with Oscilio?
It was mostly because there wasn't a good disruptive hero in the metagame. So at the time, there was kind of Assassin. So I did play New a bit because I do like that disruptive aspect. But I also liked the intricate sequencing of Wizard. And at the time, Icelander was gone, and there was not a hero that could sort of do both. And I really was drawn to Oscilio mostly for the aesthetic. I just like giant lightning robot wizard because I locked in on Oscilio when all we had of him was the young art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they spoiled his young art. We didn't even have his effect, and I decided I'm going to play this hero.
That's some dedication.
I do like the combo playstyle, but I think I do like how Icelander played more. I like that reactive, disruptive, and then doing wizard things on the side. I am very hopeful for the new Oscilio because he seems to be more like that. With things like Cosmic Suture, already feel like he's leaning into that reactive opponent's turn
Sure.
playstyle.
So let's get into new Oscilio then, because there have been some cards that have been spoiled over the last couple of days that look very, very interesting. One of my favorite cards that got spoiled recently, I talked about with Noah on the last episode, Echo Flash. That card seems
Yes,
really good in both Oscilios.
it's incredible in both, and it's one of those cards that I'm like, yeah, Volsar and CLV had to go.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how people kind of crack the new Oscilio, and I really think that he's going to be the deck to beat come Pro Tour. Maybe not for Nationals. I think we've seen this kind of cycle of Wizard deck comes out, everybody writes it off at first, and then there's a couple of people in the community like Yuto or Peter Bdenzik or Majin Bay or whoever who just like adopt these complicated Wizard heroes and do something that no one else is doing, and then push it forward.
I'm the deck builder I'm mostly following right now is Blazing for Lethal. I used a lot of his Kano deck lists when I dabbled in Kano, and I just really like how he builds decks. And he's currently been brewing BROscilio.
Yeah.
So
Anything spicy for the viewers at home?
not so much. He's mostly leaning heavily into
Yeah.
Arcane, and I think the only physical attacks in the deck in his version of the deck right now is the Flow State embodiment. Since right now that's like the only good way to make lightning flows.
Do you think there's a version of the new Oscilio that still holds the Gone in a Flash combo? Because it's hard to argue the numbers on that combo line.
I think Gone in a Flash combo is dead. So it has good numbers, however, it completely warps the deck building. So you have to play a lot of bad cards in your deck to make Gone in a Flash combo work. And it's only worth warping your deck that much if the Gone in a Flash combo is devastating. And without the Volzar amp, it's only a good turn. And I don't think you have you can deal like 20 damage, and then you can't close the game.
But you don't think with the influx of some of these new Lightning Wizard instants, there's any way to shift or pivot over?
Right now, most of the Lightning instants, like, they're going to cost resources, or they don't generate a whole lot of value on their own. So I think if Gone in a Flash is played, it will be played as like a value tool. Like, you play Gone in a Flash, you play a Sigil, pick up Gone in a Flash, arsenal it for later, and you can get turn-by-turn value, basically. It's doing an Endless Arrow impersonation.
I do like me some Endless Arrow. In that case, then, do you think the tool is perhaps the Legendary Hat?
I think Third Eye of the Sphinx is like... It seems like it is the signpost for how the deck is supposed to be built.
So, for those at home who don't know what this card is, it is Third Eye of the Sphinx. Instant, 1 resource, tap, destroy a Ponder token you control, draw a card, Spell Void 1, Blade Break, blocks 1, at Legendary. Now, it's also an illusionist / wizard equipment, which is a little wonky. Those are 2 of the most polarizing classes in the game, now sharing what is potentially a very good headpiece, depending on how the decks get built. And we've seen in the past that LSS doesn't necessarily put these hybrid equipment there and not have some idea of how they're going to get played. You know, we look at like Flick Knives, for example, and we see Syndra and Assassin both making very good use of that piece of equipment. I wonder if Ziggy's actually going to play this card.
Yeah, that's hard to say. Illusionist right now effectively only has a single card that makes them ponders. There's a couple others, but like they're all headpieces, so you can't use them with Third Eye.
That's a very good point. And they don't have this the new card, the new book. LSS is no longer banning our ability to read.
And it's an instant that blocks 2.
Yeah, probably good too. We don't want to align ourselves with Florida politics. You know, we want books. So, Tome of Quandaries is a blue pitch, 0 cost. Create 2 Ponder tokens, wizard instant that blocks 2. I've been looking at this card, and then I look at Sigil of Brilliance, and then I look at Third Eye of the Sphinx, and I'm just kind of like, there has to be some crazy like 6 to 7 card hand turn cycle thing that's going to happen with this. I find it very difficult to believe that isn't the case.
So right now we don't have an idea of what kind of combo finish he's going for. So like people have been trying like just throwing Aether Wildfire in there as like a placeholder, and it kind of works if he runs low on AB because you can combo it with Snapback and Strike Twice. However, right now it seems that mostly what people are trying is taking him in a more mid-range direction and just using Ponder tokens to keep that turn-by-turn value going. And so with between Third Eye and the new Tome, I'm mostly evaluating the Tome as a one-cost instant that draws a card and makes a Ponder, which is a very good rate.
I agree. It seems pretty strong, and then I do like the inclusion of Strike Twice. I think that card stays in the deck regardless of which version you end up
Oh,
in.
absolutely.
And then the cards that to me are like kind of innocuous, I'm not sure if they're going to find any place, are the Nebula Duality, the one that's discard deal 1 arcane, make a lightning flow. It is an action, so the people who are playing the
Yes,
wildfire thing can still do this by discarding, but
correct.
it's kind of a weird card.
Yeah, I think it's at least the blue is probably going to be played just because it's flexible. That sometimes you just need an arcane source on a turn, and you can might as well just discard your blue to make it. But the red, I think we just have better reds, like Turn to Mindfire. Oh boy,
Yeah, turn to Mindfire is definitely a card. Let me pull that one up and we can read it off here. So we got Turn to Mindfire, cost 2, red pitch, deal 5 arcane damage to any target. If this deals damage, you may tap your hero. If you do, create a Ponder token. Wizard action, blocks 2. Surprised this blocks 2, to be honest with you.
yeah,
But it is a rare.
that was probably per Sage.
Sure, yeah. I could definitely see this being played in any of the remaining legal wizards that want this kind of effect, like Blaze or Kano.
I think every wizard plays this in Sage.
You think so? You think even Icelander?
Yeah, it's just good numbers, and it curves out really well with Crucible of Aetherweave, which LSS has decided is the Sage Wizard weapon.
So there's a conversation that I've had with some people so far that have said that when they started printing these big arcane spells that are like 5-6 damage and up, that that's become a problem. And I was wondering if you think we need a different kind of defensive mechanic that is not Arcane Barrier, something that is a little more efficient, a little more better on math defensively, or if you think something like that would be too strong and maybe kill the wizard class as a whole.
I don't think they can make something better than Arcane Barrier, at least as a starts in play, stays in play. They could, like, they can put it on other, like, deck cards. I think Oasis Respite is probably a good example of how they can print arcane defenses. Because the idea is that the wizard cards are all quite below rate. You put a lot more into them than you get out of them compared to a physical attack. For instance, with Burn Bear, you're putting 3 resources in, a card, and an action point in, and you're getting 6 damage out. If you do that in a generic card, you get Raging Onslaught, which is the same thing, but it pitches for 1 instead of 0, and you get 1 more damage. And so that kind of playing below rate means that in a straight race, if the wizard is just playing their arcane, the opponent is blocking nothing and sending back physical, the physical attacker is going to win just because they just have better numbers. And so wizards need some way to cheat that math. And especially with Arcane Barrier, because Arcane Barrier sort of puts that math at parity. So if, say, I send a red zap and the opponent pitches a blue to fully block it, they actually come out on top of that exchange because they have reduced a card in my deck, so they're going to win a fatigue game, and we've still traded 1 for 1. If you do the same thing against a physical attack, put a 3 block in front of a physical attack, you both lose a card in deck. So defensively, blocking arcane damage, at least at low numbers, is just a better thing to be doing than blocking physical damage numerically. And that's sort of a tension that Wizards have had to contend with. And that's why these big arcane are so important, because they're the cards that the opponent can't just trade up into you every time you play them.
I guess that's fair. I guess I was just more thinking of it from my context of whenever you pitch like single instances of arcane, it always kind of doesn't feel great because you're essentially going like -2 if you're stopping one,
Yeah.
-1 if you're only stopping two, and then when you get into these bigger spells, you have to devote so many sideboard slots to your deck list in order to just sometimes not explode because of the presence of things like Stormstriders, or most of the wizards have ways to play cards during your turn, so they kind of start like half a turn cycle ahead, which is another way they're kind of cheating
Yep.
the typical math. All of these things together, sometimes these spells do feel overwhelming. I think at this point, most people who have been playing the game have been mind warped for 10.
Well, there's a reason they're banning Volzar. But I do think that for like regular big arcane and not like Volzar insane arcane, you can generally evaluate it the same as if I sent like 7 Dominate. I think it's roughly comparable, and you beat them in the same way, or you beat them in a similar way. You beat 7 Dominate by having a D-reaction arsenal. You beat 6 Arcane by having a prevention effect, like Oasis Respite.
Do you think they should make like a bigger Oasis Respite? Like I know Guardian has like Steadfast, for example. Do you think there should be another generic option that perhaps covers a little bit more of that number for a more upfront investment?
Maybe not generic, but I could see like if that feels like a Guardian card.
I see.
Right?
Yeah, and they already have Steadfast. What's one more, right?
Yeah.
You did mention a Cosmic Suture earlier, I believe,
Yes.
was the card. So I'm going to read this one real quick. I have the red version. So it's red, 2 cost, prevent the next 4 damage that would be dealt to you this turn. Starfall, if an instant has been put into your graveyard this turn, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. Lightning Wizard instant. Go ahead and tell me your thoughts on this card. What colors are we playing? Are we playing all of them?
Probably just the red. And this is sort of going back to like Enigma math theory. It was that
Okay.
you don't really want to play the blues of her ward auras, and a large part of that is a lot of times your blues are your blocks. And if you are priced into either pitching or playing your blue, and the playing mode is pretty bad, so like if you play this at blue, it's ward 2. Ward 2 deal 1,
Sure.
which is like 2 card 3. It's really not where you want to be. And so just red makes sense, and we can fill our blue base with better cards.
Okay.
However, this card, I think a lot of people won't catch how good it is, and that's mostly because the prevention is actually a floating prevention effect. This is fairly rare in Fab these days, but what it means is that it doesn't get used up immediately. So if the opponent attacks with Kodachi for 1 and you play Cosmic Suture, it'll prevent the 1 damage, and then you still have 3 floating prevention left over. They go Kodachi for 2, that'll eat up 2 prevention, you still have 1 left over. And so you can spread this out over multiple attacks to easily cover a bunch of breakpoints. It just makes blocking very flexible. Yeah, like between Cosmic Suture and cards like Mental Block, I'm really excited for Mental Block, because that's also floating prevention and makes Ponders, which we can now turn into card draw.
This is true. This might be the first time people playing Wizard don't go, wow, I really wish Mental Block was better.
Mental Block is really good now.
What do you think of Core Reaction?
Core Reaction, on first read, it feels like a draft card.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rate is okay. It's 1 below Voltic Bolt, but it doesn't use your action point. And it can be used to set up an offensive overlap, which is important for beating fatigue decks that are trying to just AB everything. Because with it, you can set up something like you play Core Reaction, it pops on your turn, 4 Arcane, they AB whatever. And then you send a Voltic Bolt, 5 more Arcane, you've sent 9 Arcane. And then you go to their turn, and then you send like 4 more Arcane on their turn. And you've just sent 13 Arcane at a single hand of theirs. which is very hard to block.
Yes.
But I don't think that play line is going to be very good unless the opponent is trying to fatigue you. It's just too resource intensive.
Given that we kind of know that this is the like hot pot style that LSS really likes to put into their draft formats, where there's like a central talent pool, which is in this case is Lightning, and then everybody else kind of shares from that pool and has their own little class cards that go with it. What do you think this hero is going to look like in the limited format?
Well, that's hard to say. I think right now limited is going to be defined by how you can get lightning flows at common and rare, and we have not seen enough of that, which is making draft very hard to evaluate right now.
Yeah, so far the only lightning flow generators we've seen for Oscilio that are wizard specific, I guess, are the rainbow colors of Nebula Duality, which we talked about, and then a card called Arc Ramp, also in rainbow.
Well, Arc Ramp uses a float.
Oh, that is correct. I'm sorry. I thought this made one.
I wish it made one. But no, Arc Ramp's very good.
I saw Arc Ramp, and I was like, oh, this is just going to be a 9-0 in every deck, right? Because I thought it made it, and it's like, oh, see what happens when LSS doesn't give us books for a year? You know, no one can read anything.
Is that why TCG players are illiterate? Yeah, so there's the twice per turn instant cards. Those feel like they're going to be good limited glue cards, since they let you play with a flexible cost curve, which I think is going to be very important for these heroes. Since you can play this card, and the opponent has no idea what's coming next because you have all these instants in your hand that cost resources, and you just spend the resources you don't need to buff your attack.
There's also that it's a majestic, so not really a thing for limited for the most part. But Static Shelter is seemingly an interesting card because it's a defense reaction that when you pay 1, you get to create a lightning flow token. You have any thoughts on this card? Do you think this card is going to see any sort of constructed play?
It feels decent in Oscilio and Ziggy. So a problem that a lot of these defensive decks have had in the past is that it doesn't make sense to pitch on the opponent's turn, because you need a sort of critical mass of cards that require pitch on the opponent's turn. And Ziggy and Oscilio seem like they might be reaching that critical mass. Oldhim reached it before, and since he had two equipment pieces that both use pitch on the opponent's turn to defend. And that's like another nice thing about the Third Eye of the Sphinx, is that you can use it on either turn cycle. So if you make a ponder on the opponent's turn, like off a mental block or something, or your hero ability, you can spend a resource on either the opponent's turn or your own turn, depending on when you have the floating pitch. And just that lets you fill out the cost curves and makes pitching on the opponent's turn less punishing.
So I guess we'll talk about the elephant in the room then. Volzar Meteor Storm, instant tap, amp 1, activate this only if an instant card has been put into your graveyard this turn. Lightning wizard weapon, staff, two-handed. Is it just me, or does all the art on these look like wands? Like every wizard staff, because of the perspective it's drawn in, looks more like a wand than a staff.
Yeah. And like even in Oscilio's art, it's like, if for Oscilio 1, it's kind of a long, it's pretty big, but he's also pretty big.
Yeah. Definitely a much more tame version of Volzar.
Yes.
How does this shift old Oscilio?
So right now I'm thinking old Oscilio. I'm thinking that both Oscilios are going to fall into similar playstyles. That they're both going to be more mid-rangey. They're going to be trying to send like one spell a turn, blocking it on the opponent's turn. I think the difference between them is going to be that Oscilio 1 is going to be searching for his combo more quickly, so he'll be like a faster mid-range combo deck, whereas Oscilio 2 is going to be trying to grind and get value over a longer game.
So would you say that old Oscilio is probably going to play a little bit more like kind of Aurora from the previous format, where you like play these good numbers on certain turns, but then you just have like this arc lightning flicker wisp do 1,000,000 damage on this one turn and like kind of close out the game and push it down from there?
That seems like a good comparison.
And then new Oscilio, probably closer to something like Icelander or Verdance.
I'm thinking Icelander. Like, he's pitching on the opponent's turn. I love it.
Oh boy. Don't tell Majin. All right, so we've talked to Cilio. We've kind of done a brief introduction of who you are and what you do for the Fab space. What are your goals for Fab for the immediate future?
So I will be playing in US Nats. I'm really excited to
Congratulations.
be repping. I've locked in. I'm going to be playing BROscilio. I just gotta figure out what what he's gonna be doing.
Okay, so for you, what does a good Nationals event look like then?
I guess it's hard to say. I definitely want to make at least day two.
Okay.
I think day two with a brand new hero no one's seen before. I wanna see people's faces when I hit them with something they've never even knew was possible. I want to abuse the rules a little bit.
Yeah, that is the typical wizard mentality. Oh, rules? Those aren't for me.
Exactly.
Those are for you.
It's our turn.
Correct. Yeah. One of our locals, Julian. I don't know if you've ever seen him pass the priority duck during the wizard mirror.
You remember when I said my second game was against Kano? That was Julian.
Ah, fantastic. So he gave you the priority duck.
Yes.
Perfect. I would love to see somebody have like a priority duck or of some kind on stream rather than that weird game we saw where they were like passing the crucible back and forth, but that didn't really make a whole lot of sense because both players can activate crucible on the same turn.
Yeah.
Just made it really confusing.
Yeah, no, the casters never know what to do with wizard games. I can't imagine what they would do with the wizard mirrors. I'm actually kind of excited for new Oscilio mirrors. It's like old Oscilio mirrors were awful. It was
Yeah, it's probably just find the thing first, right?
it's really just find the thing first, and then if the opponent has a null shock, you lose. Whoops.
Is it really that bad?
Well,
I've never played the mirror. I'll confess, I've never played the mirror.
well, that's what happened in that finals game between Evan Herndon and Yuki. Like that's like she got her arcade spell at the end of her combo turn wobbled, but I think that was because she was playing around null shock, and so
Interesting.
on that turn she had the option she could either play around null shock or she could play around wobble, and I think she had already seen a wobble at that point, so playing around the null shock was actually the higher EV play, and so she went for it and she flipped a coin and lost the game because of it.
Yeah, and deck lists were open too, right?
Yeah.
And Evan was on more copies of shock effect.
Yeah, so he
Overall,
was
I
on 3
think.
null shocks, and she knew it.
Yeah.
And so that's why she decided to play around it, and she lost the game for making the correct choice. And that's always frustrating.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Typically, there's a lot of talk in the Fab space about, if you've lost the game, then there's probably a mistake you made in there somewhere. But there are sometimes just some games that you are destined to lose, no matter how many good choices you made, because the power that your opponent's throwing at you, and like Oscilio, is sometimes just so high that it's like, okay, I'll go get my milkshake. I'll come back for the next round. I'll move on with my life.
It happened to me. I played a Super Armory, and the final round was an Oscilio mirror. I won the die roll. I went first, and then I comboed him on my second turn. And it was like, okay, good game.
Shake my hand.
It just doesn't matter. Like, the Oscilio mirror it's not fun. But yeah, new Oscilio is looking a lot better because there's a lot more interaction. There's a lot more. You need to play around each other's priority, which is what makes Wizard Mirrors interesting.
Kind of like Kano back in the day.
Yeah, the Kano Mirror.
Like old Kano.
Kano Mirror was incredible. I never had the chance to play it, but from everything I saw of it, like, you could tell like how much was going on. Just the board state did not represent what was going on in the actual game, which was all in the players' heads. It was wonderful.
There was also that weird thing in Kano Mirrors too, where you could very much see from how people were playing how well versed they were in the Kano Mirror.
Yeah.
There was just like a bunch of different layers to the Kano Mirror, and you'd see like, okay, this person has like the basic game plan down, and then you go, oh, but his opponent knows the next step, like knows to play around these other things in more than just this game plan, and first person just has like no idea. And like some of the higher level wizard mirrors, you're just, oh my god, they all know everything, and they're all just doing this weird stuff to not get blown out by like 7 different cards here, and it's just, yeah, I'll just take this little value play right here and see what you do. Yeah, it's okay, I'll pass priority on this one, and I'll see what you do with this. And it's just a bunch of nonsense.
And while they're doing that, they're both stacking.
Yeah. Yeah, pitch stacking, lost art for the game, I fear, at the moment. Unless you're playing Victor, and then it's just Put my gold main estates to the bottom.
But then you play Remembrance to get them back, so then you ruin your pitch deck.
Yeah, but that's after you've played them.
Okay.
You don't Remembrance until you've seen all of them. Are you going to go to Vegas?
I don't think so. I've got like
No.
one big trip per year in my mental budget.
Your mental budget?
Yeah.
That's funny. It's a mental block, as it were.
Yes.
Okay, so no Pro Tour then. What do you want for the game as a whole?
I want to see it grow. Like, a lot of what
Okay.
I've done for the game has been about trying to get more people to play it. Like, I want to be able to have just a scene where, like, I just go to an armory and there's like 20 people there. That's what I want to see.
I also agree with this. I think our local armory, or one of the local armories that we both attend, does a pretty good job at this most of the time. It's fallen down a little bit since Pro Tour and everything. I think people are still a little burnt out. But I agree that I would love to see 20 plus consistently across, multiple armories in the area. I think that would get people to drive out and play more and be a little more adventurous with how they spend their time. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's 30 minutes away. It's an hour away. I don't want to go do that. But, if it's going to be 20 to 30 people, maybe it's worth getting in there and getting the practice.
I think the game has the power to, like, get that numbers. The issue is that it doesn't have the star power to get them in the door.
Interesting. What you want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, like, a lot of times, especially with, like, these newer games, they're all like, hey, Thing? Well, we have Thing as card. Come by card. And that's how, like...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You're talking about, like, Universes Beyond,
Yeah.
or, like, Riftbound with the League of Legends IP. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. But Fab has a really good independent IP.
It is a good IP. I think it does need work. And it definitely needs more recognition. It's like, if you show someone Aurora on the street, they're not going to know who she is. You show someone Jinx, though, and they're going to recognize Jinx. I do think that the IP needs a lot of work on, like, the lore front. I think they need to be writing more. I honestly think they need to get a lore Bible going, because they do have a habit of retconning things. It sounds like they're kind of just making it all up as they go along.
I do agree the lore needs a little more structure and a little more work overall. I would like to think that the story for at least the Monarch portion is, like, kind of done okay. Maybe, like, there's, like, these little in-between notes for sets that are, like, buying filler space between each iteration of Monarch that kind of feel like they're being made up a little bit. But I do know that LSS had a period of time where they either didn't have writers or hired new writers, or the people who were writing, like, couldn't devote the time anymore. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but there was a time where we had a bunch of lore articles, like, all the time, and then that kind of dried up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of like, hey, what's going on here?
It does seem that they mostly, from what I've heard, for sets, they start with a broad theme. So, like, with High Seas, they would say, hey, we want a pirate set. And they will fill in, and that's sort of their top concern. So they're not necessarily concerned with how does this fit into the lore, what heroes are needed in the metagame. They start with this theme, and I think that's been working pretty well so far. But I do kind of wish they would focus on some other things. It's like Wizard. It really feels like it has been a long time since we've had a proper Wizard. Really since Icelander. Oscilio and Verdance are fun, but they feel like they are Lightning Wizard and Earth Wizard rather than Lightning Wizard.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you feel more that they play around their talent more so than they play around their class. I definitely think that's the case for Verdance, but Verdance feels very much like that was LSS's tribute to the Wounded Bull Icelander style, and everyone was like, oh, this is really cool, and look, and this is like an iconic play style of the game at the time, like Battle Wizard, let's do that. Oscilio, for a long time, just felt like Runeblade.
Yeah.
Just felt like Runeblade Plus. Like, if every rune chant did 3 damage or 5 damage instead of 1 damage. So I think I agree with you there. But I think between the two of them, Oscilio felt a lot more wizardy than Verdance did. Verdance just felt, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to compare it to, but I think it was the least interactive wizard we've seen in the game for a while.
So I do think that she felt a little more wizardy at first. until they banned Plume. I think it was really the Plume ban that sort of made her go all in on the just, I'm going to mid-range you down until you're 9 health and then Stormstriders kill you. Because with Plume, there was always, I don't know, I just really like doing the play rampant growth, gain a life, rampant growth, goes to the graveyard, hold priority, Plume the rampant growth back, play it again. That was really fun for me. But yeah, so if I had a choice, I would have banned Light Up the Leaves and left Plume, but
Interesting.
Light Up the Leaves was the new card.
Yeah, I also think that given the context of what we've seen Plume of Evergrowth do in other formats like Living Legend, then maybe the starts in play recursion piece is probably something that has to go in the future anyway.
Yeah.
It falls into one of those cards that's kind of on my personal watch list, like Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, for example, in Ninja. I'm like just waiting for the day that some Ninja like comes out and it's just, oh yeah, this hat that's been kind of powerful in the past, sometimes okay, is now just infinitely broke.
I mean, people have been saying that since Phi, but I do agree that the card is basically just 6 or 7 points of value that you start the game with.
Oh, the forbidden number. How dare you? We've seen a couple of different instances of starts in play, stays in play equipment that convert to kind of some insane offensive numbers. The first one that pops into my head is obviously Traverse the Universe.
Yeah, that card is ridiculous.
So, I'm just kind of when I think of Plume, even though it's not necessarily the same equivalent value of something like Traverse, it is game winning.
Yes.
Right. So a piece of equipment that starts in play and is potentially just game winning when you use it feels maybe a little too much for something that's, one, not legendary, and two, for something that already kind of starts a full or like half a turn cycle ahead of you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, Light Up the Leaves is fine, I guess.
It was so boring.
Yeah, that's where I was at too. I was just, it felt like I was just playing any other version of one of those block 2 send 2 decks.
Yeah.
And then with the added ability of uninteractable disruption, like most of those block 2 send 2 decks have on hits that are how you engage with the game. This one's just like, nope, felling, nope, plow under,
nope.
Okay,
9 arcane.
I guess. Yep, I guess. All right. And to an extent, Oscilio does have some of that. Like, obviously, we talked about like the 10 power mind warp and those kinds of things, but it generally feels a lot more interactive than the block 2 send 2 version of Verdance.
Also, like, Oscilio blocking very poorly. It gives him real weaknesses.
Yeah, weakest link hurts sometimes.
No, I don't want to see that card anymore. Please stop.
It was funny. I was joking around with Tim yesterday at Armory, and I was like, we just play weakest link in the holodeck. We just go, like sharpen our sword, swing the sword, go again, play something like second swing or hit and run to give our next thing a big boost, and then just like weakest link for 9, 10. And what does Oscilio do at that point other than cry?
He plays all of his instants in response. He doesn't want to do that, but he's doing it.
Well, I don't think I have much else for you, Paul. But I do enjoy you stopping by and sharing your thoughts on Wizard. Do you want to tell the folks at home where they can find you if they want to contact you, or any social media handles you want to plug?
So the place I'm most active is Discord. I'm a pretty frequent commenter on Purple Discord. Aegisworn, at Aegisworn will get me. I have a Blue Sky account that I don't use, but
it seems to be a running trend.
That is the extent of my social media. I kind of mean to use it. Like, I was thinking maybe I could just post some Talishar updates there. I just always forget that it exists.
So I have both Twitter and Blue Sky, and depending on the day, I'll forget one of them exists. So I'll be like, oh yeah, let me post on this. I didn't post on the other one. God damn it. So I feel you there. But all right, everyone, please hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon, and I'll see you all next week.